Olu is going to be talking about about Vesti, which creates financial inclusion tools and services for a market I've never even heard of described as a market: immigrants. And they've done some incredible things so far. I'm very excited for everyone to hear about their work. Let's welcome them up.
It's always exciting to be back and always exciting to be speaking to this wonderful community, Global Unity. We had such a terrific time out there in Zanzibar just a couple of months ago. And what is really exciting about the power of this community is how quickly you can connect with people who truly care about change and can begin to make things happen. So between Zanzibar and now, we met another speaker at the event, after speaking about our work, who is helping us expand to South Africa. And I tell Elliot about how just unique that is, that you can quickly connect. My name is Olu. I'm co-founder and CEO at Vesti. Vesti is building the world's first AI-powered neobank for immigrants. And our story starts where my co-founder and I, that's my brother, emigrated from Nigeria to the United States about 6 years ago. We were both like outstanding career professionals. I was building expansion markets for Microsoft Azure and the early applications of machine learning for Microsoft in Africa and the Middle East. So I had a fairly great career, as a young man who just wanted to, change the world from Africa and change the perception about what you could essentially do. I had a master's in, computer science with focus on information security, and I just knew the world was mine for the taking. And in moving to the United States to join Microsoft to continue to advance my work, I thought it was just going to be business as usual because I'd be traveling to the US, Europe, and other parts of the world, as a 20-something-year-old, pretty conveniently. But this time around, coming to live in the US was going to be a whole new ball game. I was embarrassed by every single thing. I'd come to the United States with maybe about $100,000 to be able to settle and, live a good life. But it wasn't just about that. It was about the fact that I was going to be told that I didn't have a credit history to get a bank account open, to rent a house, or even to buy a car. A problem most people who live in the United States often take for granted. Now, I realized that it wasn't just me. There were 4 million other people every year who move to the United States for work, for business, to contribute to an economy they read so much about because of how much of it has been sold by Hollywood and NASA and every other thing. Now they get into that economy that's supposed to help them fulfill their dreams, only to find out that it's not made for them. So we decided to build a platform that would make that simplified. What are the complexities that surround accessing prosperity as an immigrant who has left, where they're from to live in a country other than where they were born, to be able to bank successfully, to be able to open the doors of prosperity, rent the house for themselves, put a roof over their head, and so on. So that's how our story starts. And that's in 2019. We had set up our Telegram group to just galvanize community and assist only a handful of people to help their migration journey more successful. And it was then that I stumbled on data that industry is worth over $560 billion every single year. And it's not just a space to look at from the standpoint of philanthropy and aid alone. These are professionals coming to help the US economy for work, coming to spend money and pay taxes and do things that most people never even think is important. So we started thinking about that demography. And because we had experienced the same challenges and problems, it was easy for us to build around the issues that we had experienced. I'd been walked out of a car shop, Toyota car shop, told that my papers were fake because this guy has never seen someone move into the US as an alien with extraordinary ability. And he had assumed that, well, for you to be an immigrant here, it means something isn't working in the country that you're from, and that wasn't the truth. This was just me looking to explore the world like many, many other incredibly talented people who think the United States could be home and could be next vista for opportunity and greatness for them. So we built a mobile app that would simplify this process And it started from 6,000 people. Today, it's been downloaded over 500,000 times. And it's just 3-4 years after officially launching. We're backed by Techstars, Adiaka Fund, some of the early investors in Twitter and Facebook. But that's not the interesting thing. The interesting thing is that as we continue to grow and realize that the corridors where this solution could be applicable is not just Nigeria to the US alone. It is United States back to Zambia, to Zimbabwe, to South Africa. It is people moving from Japan to Hong Kong. There's people moving from Hong Kong to the United States. It's literally the technology that would aid human mobility for the next 1 billion people. And when I look back, connecting the dots back, I attended a retreat just like this in the year 2016, where I met a gentleman by the name Ryan Ellis, who had sparked up the fire and inspired me to say, I must be thinking about solving problems to the magnitude of the next 1 billion people. It wouldn't be until the 3rd year after that experience that my brother and I, who at the time was also studying for his law degree in New York, and facing an entirely similar set of problems as a student who couldn't access credit, access loans, simply because he wasn't considered as somebody with history, regardless of how responsible he had been prior to that. So today, 550 million people from the world's most populous countries are looking to move abroad because it's just in the nature of humans to be nomadic. Despite the fact that some of these may be driven by crisis, economic challenges, there's actually a huge population of people, regardless of their color, creed, or where they're from, who desire to find work opportunities contributing to the nations that they move to. But financial services are cumbersome for these newcomers. It's expensive for immigrants. There's no tailored financial products available for skilled immigrants. Credit products like cars and housing loans are only reserved for people who have built history in that country. So we built an all-round financial services platform for immigrants and a global visas software as a service. Today, we offer bank accounts, debit cards to immigrants as soon as they arrive, rather than them carrying cash in their pockets for the next 6 months, like many of our friends around the time that we came. Now, it is incredibly, sometimes unthinkable for even maybe some of us in this room to think that, are you saying that if an immigrant walks into Chase Bank in New York right now, someone would tell them they can't open a bank account? And the answer is absolutely yes, because they are asked for things they would not have for 3 years. They ask for ID cards, they don't even know where to get it. They ask the global ID cards and passports they brought from where they're coming from do not work for these large banks, and there is no incentive whatsoever to develop a solution in that direction. So we decided to partner with chartered banks, with boutique banks, and essentially those who are smaller but have a vision, essentially still following all the rules held by the FDIC, because the feds never said you couldn't open a bank account with an international passport. It is just the large banks to say, well, we don't have an incentive to do this and we don't understand your risk profile. So with our platform, we redefine the risk platform, make it easier for these banks to make this happen, and set the doors for prosperity open for the immigrants that we support. Today, from all corners of the world, you can access student loans, migration loans, settling loans, and welcome programs through artificial intelligence programs. Now, our goal, even though there's only about 500,000 people using our platform today, is to grow these to 300 million people by the end of the decade. They live everywhere on the planet, and artificial intelligence allows us to create tailored experiences for every single one of these people. We have not only been able to do this as a profitable organization with annualized $5 million in revenue, which is far from the potential to actually annualize $1.4 billion in revenue as we continue to solve this very critical problem. In the new year, our goal is to move on and expand to Mexico, South Africa, Canada, Kenya, and Rwanda as source markets for the US, where skilled workers and talented workers come from. But more importantly, open a new intra-Africa migration journey for people who are trying to get work permits from Nigeria to South Africa, and help Americans who want to get work permits in Kenya, in Tanzania, to make this easy. So this is not a question of helping people just move from are already hitherto perceived as poor and ravaged Africa to the United States. It's about allowing people in the global north to also be able to access opportunities everywhere around the world where they choose to set their feet. So this is really a very important human problem that we are trying to solve. We're privileged to have partnered with Microsoft, Dover Credit, airlines, banks, Stripe, Paystack, NDIC to create an opportunity for you to experience something on one platform that is backed by several organizations altogether. Today, our revenue models are simple. We charge for global visas like special talent visas and make it easy for people to get work permits in countries. We charge transaction fees on cards and, of course, settlement fees as well. Other areas we're exploring are revolving credit, auto finance for immigrants, mortgages, and B2B enterprise visa planning. Our team has nearly 3 decades of experience in immigration and global financial services. And with what we've done so far, our goal after annualizing $5 million in revenue is to do a 15 million Series A in first quarter of next year, which already appears to be arising a lot of interest from A16Z, Sequoia, and a number of other companies like Visa. If you want to partner with us or really just explore the curiosity around this new demography that people have looked away from for so long, if you want to talk to me at olu@wevesti.com or just grab you somewhere around. Thank you so much once again, Elia.
So again, one of the things that's so inspiring about this event is getting to hear about people doing work in spaces that we never would have thought. Like even just that suggestion that immigrants as a group are a market, and the fact that and by their nature deal with challenging situations, and anyone who's trying to help, and who are the folks most often trying to help people, in the immigration space, people trying to help, at the very kind of bottom rung of the ladder, people are barely surviving, whereas immigrants, and even that, it almost tethers back to Curtis's work. We need a mindset shift. There's something very different. This is not, the idea that an immigrant is someone who's in poverty is a shift. And if we actually want to change, not just that mindset, but that reality, if we want to create prosperity for immigrants, they need the tools and services to do that. So I don't actually have anything to say other than just...
Absolutely, Zoe. So for Microsoft, Amazon, and Google, this year alone, they would be expecting 85,000 immigrants coming from all over the world. That's India, Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa. And these guys are writing code and building the next generation of AI, but they're still immigrants. They won't have a bank account for another 3 to 4 months. They won't have state IDs or driver's licenses for another couple of weeks. Their spouses and kids would have a hard time settling in, and they are contributing to our nation's prosperity. This is a very important demography. So we identify this group of people. They are actually, they've come through a lot of resilience. Just the whole idea that you can leave your own country is even foreign to many people, who, live in America and gone thousands of miles away just to contribute to something or be part of something. So that group has become, there's 45 million immigrants in America today because the formation of the nation itself powers and is powered by the contribution of immigrants. And I dare say that.
Well, even just wait to share that by their nature, they're folks who've been through adversity. They've demonstrated resilience, and how, in terms of talk about with Curtis's work around how Africa is kind of seen or projected, how our immigrants seen. We were often not talked to, we often don't hear about the resilience and the positive contribution as citizens of a new place. And so I love also that frame it. And yeah, so there's so much in this. First off, what do you need? How can we help?
Yeah, so like I said, when we were in Zanzibar, we had a chat like this, and I had two people walk to me in the room. One person was ready to write an angel check, and I told Elliot, he didn't believe it. I told Elliot that, Gina, I'm like, I just got a check. Can you believe it? Like, just the whole idea that it's one pitch, and this person was able to see an investment opportunity, went through, looked through our deck, and did some DD right on the spot, and it's like, I want part of this opportunity, and that's one. And then I found another person who said, do you want to expand to DR Congo? I see a parallel between Nigeria, a population standpoint, and of course from the energy of the young people, and that's underway. But what is interesting is that I met a gentleman called Misumi from Urban Cities, Urban Resilience in Durban, South Africa, at the conference. And right now he's helping us expand to South Africa. And we have an event next week. And we don't have to go there by ourselves because we're doing Kenya. We're opening a new engineering site in Lagos next Thursday. And we just are able to leverage on that community. So when I say what I need, that's an example of it. We want people who have access to, financiers, banks, VCs, enablers that can allow us and help us to access, people who know our welcoming centers, have access to university communities that help us continue to reach these audiences to even know that these things actually exist. One key thing we're trying to do right now is tell our stories more. There are 240 families who are arriving this October through the H-1B visas, just through us, coming from West Africa. These families, both of them just arrived in Dallas, Texas, and sent us a text a couple of days ago. We want to be able to tell the story of these people holistically. So there are people in media who have access to streaming platforms that can tell the stories and put the word out. And that kind of visibility essentially helps us. So, and as we raise our Series A, which I know shouldn't be difficult because of the traction that we have, and of course, like the revenue that we've been able to analyze. We would like introductions to elite investors, A16Z, Sequoia, Visa, and some of these already have our decks with them, but it would be great if there are companies who have worked with them or essentially, have exited for them. That I always feel like this is a community where you can share that kind of thoughts and vulnerability and be able to say that one of the key things that stands as barrier that is not identified or accepted is that when VCs want to make those decisions, they need to be able to make connections in their mind about who has this person worked with before, who is able to say that this person is truly working on this problem and genuinely will be able to solve it. And with a lot of precedents that has happened in the startup space and VC space, trust is a very important commodity. So it will be great if there are people who can, make that intro, make that connection and make that happen. So it's exciting to be here. And
Thank you so much. And, immigration is happening everywhere.
yes,
People are, as you said, we're as a species, we're nomadic.
yes,
And so the first thought, is Curtis is plugged into so many countries, and what you offer is that the immigrants that are already coming into your country, they can be a much more, by empowering them financially and otherwise, you actually make them greater contributors to your country, whatever country that happens to be. And so, to be considered. And again, part of the reason, besides their incredible work that I often reference Olu, is I say, like, Transformative Impact Summit Africa was magical on so many levels. That dinner, that party was so special. But the highlight was at that night, the first night of the event, Olu coming up to me and telling me he got funded at the event. Mission accomplished. That's the whole. We've talked about it all day. Yes, we don't need another impact dog and pony show, celebrate people, and that's it. It's like, no, we need to move the needle. And if we can get, and this is our purpose, if we can get founders who are doing incredible work and funders and policymakers into the room for a weekend, we create real change. The tagline for Transformative Impact Summit is not just celebrating transformative impact, creating it. And so, you're such a beautiful example of that in action, and so grateful for the work you do and for your presence here.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.